The endless ribbon of Route 66 stretched before me, another day, another drive. I'd been hitting the open road for years, a solitary figure against the vast American landscape, the wind whispering against the glass, the miles melting away to the rhythm of some forgotten country tune. It's a lonely life, but a freeing one. The highway's a good place to clear your head, to let the worries blow away like dust devils in the rearview mirror. That familiar twang of steel guitar filled the cab, a soundtrack to the simple things, the things we often forget amidst the chaos. It was a typical day. Blue skies, endless asphalt, but there was a hum in the air, a feeling that something was shifting, a subtle premonition hanging heavier than the desert heat. Then I saw her. Off to the side, a small figure slumped against the scorching earth. At first I thought she was just taking a break, but something felt wrong, a knot tightening in my gut. I pulled over, a chill running down my spine despite the oppressive heat. As I approached, the truth hit me. She was in trouble. She looked frail, dehydrated, her face ashen, eyes wide with a mixture of shock and relief as I knelt beside her. Weak as a kitten, she couldn't even stand, her breathing ragged, her body trembling. "Are you all right?" I asked gently, my voice barely a whisper. "Where are you headed?" The vastness of the desert suddenly felt smaller, the weight of responsibility, heavier than any load I'd ever hauled. I'd offered her water, but she just stared, bewildered, like she didn't quite grasp what I was doing. A near whisper escaped her lips. "Los Angeles, south. Please help me, I can't go on." It was far worse than I'd anticipated. She wasn't just tired or overheated, she was pregnant, and her exhaustion went far beyond simple fatigue. Leaving her there felt like a death sentence, so I didn't hesitate. Phoenix was familiar territory, though the nearest proper hospital was hours away, a risky detour on the desolate stretch of I-10. That lonely highway is a graveyard for migrants. Making the trek from Texas to the West Coast, a perilous journey many attempt with nothing but hope. I'd seen desperate people before, but nothing prepared me for this. She was barely clinging to consciousness when we finally reached the Phoenix Regional Hospital, a modest place, but equipped for emergencies. My own anxiety was a physical ache, but I couldn't abandon her. I helped her stumble into the ER. They took her immediately, whisking her away to a room. The waiting room felt like a pressure cooker. The uncertainty gnawed at me, but a quiet sense of having done the right thing anchored me. My thoughts drifted to my daughter, around the same age as this young woman. My girl, with her whole life ahead of her, brimming with innocence. And here was Sarah, alone, adrift, chasing a future that might never arrive. I couldn't leave. There was something in her eyes, a silent plea that rooted me to that plastic chair. She was in capable hands, but the gravity of her situation remained. A gaping unknown. My mind reeled. This was a whole different ballgame than hauling freight and seeing the occasional distressed traveler on the roadside. This was personal. I kept thinking about my daughter, imagining what it would be like if she were in Sarah's shoes. We build these seemingly safe worlds, convinced we're in control, yet everything can crumble in a heartbeat. I, who'd spent years trying to teach my daughter about resilience, felt utterly powerless facing Sarah's vulnerability. Finally, the doctor emerged, offering a sliver of relief. It wasn't good news. Not really. High-risk pregnancy. Severe. Dehydration, and she needed absolute rest and constant care, but she was stable. The New Orleans hospital, while great in a pinch, just wasn't equipped for her long-term care. She needed somewhere quieter, somewhere she could properly recover, the doctor had explained, his face grim. I got the picture. It was the best option close by, but not ideal. Hours later, a glimmer of hope. A nurse mentioned Sister Agnes's shelter, a haven run by a nun downtown for women in Maria's situation. It had a stellar reputation, a safe harbor for the lost. No question, shelter, and ongoing care were priority one. I decided to take her there and to stay until she was stable. My stomach was a knot as I started the car. The road stretched ahead, the usual New Orleans traffic thicker now, a reflection of the constant southward migration, destinations as uncertain as the roads themselves. Maria wasn't just seeking a better life, she was running from something. The look in her eyes when I offered her water spoke volumes. Her precarious state consumed me. New Orleans, only minutes away, held both the shelter and the hospital we needed, a crossroads for so many migrants. I've seen a lot on these roads, but nothing this personal. My work has always been routine, but this was different. Finally, we arrived at the shelter, a quiet sanctuary on the city's edge, walled in simply, almost like a cloister, with a peaceful little garden. Sister Agnes, a formidable yet gentle woman, met me at the door. I knew her story, her dedication to the vulnerable. "How is she?" Sister Agnes watched Sarah, her face etched with a blend of sorrow and quiet understanding, as I carried her inside, a fragile wisp of a woman, finally succumbing to exhaustion after a harrowing ordeal. The refuge felt like a sanctuary. The simple act of laying Sarah down on a makeshift bed seemed to melt away some of her tension. I sat there, replaying the chaotic events of the past few hours, a whirlwind that had swept me up and deposited me here in this unexpectedly peaceful place. It wasn't just kindness that had driven me. There was a deeper pull, an inexplicable connection that felt far more profound than a simple act of charity. That night, under the watchful gaze of the silent stars, I stayed by Sarah's side. Something told me this was just the beginning, the calm before a storm of unknowns. I slept little, my mind buzzing with the weight of it all, Sarah's vulnerability, the sheer randomness of it all, how a single act of help could unravel such a tangled web of suffering, not just for her, but for me too. The morning light filtered through the small windows, bathing the refuge in a soft glow. As we sipped coffee, Sister Agnes's eyes held the wisdom of a lifetime spent bearing witness to human fragility. Her quiet strength was a balm, a reassurance in the face of the daunting questions that lay ahead. "How is she?" I asked, the words catching in my throat. "Physically, she's healing," Sister Agnes replied, her voice firm yet gentle. "But the emotional wounds, those take time. It's a long road back from a place where hope is a luxury, a distant dream." The weight of Sarah's story hung heavy in the air, a story of despair, of resilience, and the uncertain path that lay before us, a path we had to navigate together. One uncertain step at a time, I felt a crushing weight of responsibility, a sense of being swept up in something far bigger than myself. My sister looked at me with pity, her silent gaze a potential life lesson, something so simple yet profoundly needed in that moment. People often seek refuge in such places, searching for something they can't quite name. We can't always help the way we hope, but sometimes all you can do is offer a lifeline, a listening ear, a bit of your time. Maybe all she needed was the reassurance that there are still good people in the world. I ended up staying at the shelter all day. I sat with Maria as she rested, and gradually she began to share her story. Her voice was thin, her words slow, as if she was dredging up secrets she barely dared to remember herself. She'd come from a small town in Alabama, a place where life was hard. Her family was desperately poor. Her parents loved her fiercely, but couldn't give her the opportunities she needed to thrive. Growing up, there were barely any prospects, and the crushing weight of poverty and lack of work forced her into choices that led her here. She'd come to New York chasing a better future, a future for her and her baby. "I thought moving north would change everything," she whispered, her gaze fixed on the floor. "But it didn't." I asked gently, not wanting to push, but needing to understand. "Why did you come alone?" She looked up, her eyes shimmering with a sorrow that spoke volumes. "They abandoned me," she said, the pain etched on her face. "The men I was traveling with, they saw I was pregnant and they wouldn't listen. They threw me out on the road like I was nothing. I just wanted to reach somewhere safe." The sheer brutality of it hit me hard. To abandon a pregnant woman, it was incomprehensible. I couldn't change the past, but I could be there for her now. After she drifted back to sleep, I sat by the window wrestling with her story. I'd traveled extensively, but nothing had ever felt so utterly heartbreaking. I felt helpless, yet profoundly grateful that I'd found her that afternoon. When Maria woke, I told her about the shelter, about Sister Agnes, assuring her she was safe, that she could stay as long as she needed. A flicker of a smile, something I hadn't seen before, crossed her face. A glimmer of relief, though many questions undoubtedly lingered. As dusk settled, Sister Agnes approached, offering a silent gesture of support. She asked me to join her in the shelter's chapel. We would pray for Maria and her baby. It felt like, despite differences in belief, that shared act of faith was exactly what everyone needed. "Life throws us curveballs we don't understand," Sister Agnes said as we walked, "but we have to trust that it all has a purpose." That night, praying together, I felt a peace I hadn't known for a long time. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew for whatever reason we were all meant to be there, in that moment. Sarah had hit rock bottom, utterly alone and adrift, until she found sanctuary, a chance to rebuild. The days at the shelter blurred, long but brimming with small, unexpected mercies. Physically she mended, but her soul carried the scars of a brutal past. Each morning, I'd find her in her room. Sister Agnes was her primary caregiver, but I felt compelled to let her know she wasn't truly alone. Sometimes I'd sit by her bed while she slept, watching her, wondering how someone so young could carry such a weight. I felt helpless much. Of the time, limited in what I could do, but I offered what little I had, my time, my unwavering support, a listening ear. After days of rest and quiet reflection, she asked me to walk with her to the garden. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues. We sat beneath a sprawling tree, a gentle breeze whispering through the leaves. Then she began to speak, unburdening her heart. "I've never told anyone what happened before I got here, Antonio," she said, her voice steady yet trembling. She spoke of a childhood marred by poverty, dreams dashed against the harsh reality of her circumstances. The sadness in her eyes was palpable, but beneath it a fierce determination flickered. She was processing her pain, finding a new perspective. New York, she explained, had been her escape, her ticket to a different life, but the city had chewed her up and spat her out. Then she met me, and my help became a lifeline, a sign that not all hope was lost. Her words resonated deeply, a validation of my actions, a beacon of hope in the face of adversity. Life, I realized, doesn't always provide the answers we crave, but it offers something even more precious, the chance to change someone's destiny if we're willing to step up. The following day, Sarah was stronger physically, but her heart still needed healing. Sister Agnes offered assistance in finding work in Los Angeles. The future remained uncertain, but a transformation had begun. The frightened girl I'd found on the roadside was gone, replaced by a spark of resilience, a fresh outlook. Weeks later, Sister Agnes summoned me to her office. Sarah had decided to stay in Los Angeles to build a life for herself and her child. She wanted to work, to become self-sufficient. "It's a huge step," Sister Agnes said, a smile gracing her lips. "She's found purpose here. It won't be easy, but with support, I'm confident she'll succeed." My role in Sarah's story felt almost complete, yet something more remained. That afternoon, Sarah asked me to accompany her to the hospital. The air crackled with a mix of nervous energy and pure joy, the kind that comes with a brand new beginning. Sarah's delivery was swift, a whirlwind of exertion and love, culminating in a scene etched forever in my memory. Lying there, she wasn't just a young woman escaping her past. She was a warrior, fiercely protective of the tiny life she held within. My wife and I, witnesses to this incredible moment, watched as a healthy cry filled the room, a sound that announced the arrival of a new soul. Sarah's radiant smile, her eyes shining with an overwhelming emotion, spoke volumes. In that instant, life's true meaning crystallized for me, a series of transformative events, each one shaping us, enriching our humanity. Holding her son close, she whispered her thanks. "David, you gave me more than shelter. You gave me hope. I want you to be a part of his life." I mumbled something about it being nothing, but her insistence was unwavering. "He's going to be named after you, David," she said, her voice laced with an affection that stole my breath away. The emotion was overwhelming, far beyond simple gratitude. It was a profound lesson. Sometimes extending a hand to another person can change the entire trajectory of a life. Life doesn't always give us what we want, but it always delivers what we need. That baby, that name, that moment, it all felt divinely orchestrated. A perfect alignment of the right people at the right time in the right place.